As most of you may or may not know, my coworker Jeff and I are planning a charity barbecue in memory of Mark. We started planning our barbecue in January, and we've had to do a lot of talking, planning flyers, talking to vendors, employees for volunteers, meetings, and every time we've started talking about this barbecue, I've had to talk about Mark. And we've talked about Mark a lot. And it occurred to me one day that although many of you may know who Mark was because of the pictures I plastered all over Facebook, or just because you know me, you didn't actually know Mark. And I want you to know that Mark was more than the disease that he had. So I would like you to meet Mark. I met Mark 5 or 6 years ago at Sobeys. We were sitting outside the picnic table one day, and he said, "Are you Camisos or are you Sobeys?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Camisos." And he's like, "Oh, me too." And I looked at his name tag and I was like, "Wow, Mark Doan." And he said, "Yeah." And it turns out that Mark was my boss 20 years ago at Camisos when I worked in the meat department. Hence began our friendship. So we were friends for a couple of years, and then one day he asked me out, and I couldn't believe it because I really liked him. I thought he was just like a really, really nice guy, and there was something really special about him. And so on our first date, he brought me white roses and he took me to Four Brothers in Niagara Falls, opened my car door, opened the door to the restaurant. And through our dinner conversation, it came out that he had liked me for quite a while. And I said, "How come I never knew that?" And he said, "Because you were dating somebody else. And what did you want me to say?" And I think I fell in love with him at that moment. He was just a real gentleman. And from that day on, I never opened a car door. I never opened any door that I ever walked through. He opened every one of them up until about 6 months before he passed away. And I just, I'd never had anybody like that or met anybody like that. He loved his family. Family was very, very important to him. So we structured a lot around family dinners and, just having them over for coffee or dessert and coffee, because I love dessert. Any excuse to eat dessert. So we always did that. And, he was good with that. It was something that we both enjoyed doing. He he loved Swiss Chalet. Swiss Chalet was his favorite fast food restaurant, and who am I to argue with Swiss Chalet fries? Any chance I can get. And we would go there maybe, I won't say once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks we would go there because that was his favorite place to eat. Our first Valentine's Day, he showed up at the door with a dozen long stem red roses and a beautiful double heart diamond necklace. And that was just the way he was. He was like extremely romantic. Any occasion to buy me roses, he did. And, I loved him for that too. He was a huge, I can never remember what kind of music it is, classic rock fan. Rush was his favorite band, AC/DC, all those kinds of bands that I would never, ever, ever listen to. Huge fan. And that was the only thing that we didn't see eye to eye on was the music. I'm a huge Neil Diamond fan, so you can imagine the conflict that went on there. But I let him listen to his music, and he let me listen to mine. And I guess you can't ask for much more than compromise in that case. He loved Toronto Maple Leafs, and I don't even know if love is a proper word. He definitely loved them. I have no words to describe what kind of fan he was of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Our bedroom was decorated Toronto Maple Leafs. Signed framed jersey hung in our bedroom. He just anything we could was Toronto. He could was Toronto Maple Leafs, and I bought him tickets for his first Christmas together. This kind of guy he is. I gave him tickets for our first Christmas together to go see the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he was very disappointed that I was not going with him. And I bought the tickets for him and his son so that they can enjoy a father son night. And he wanted me to go with him, and he was very disappointed that I wasn't going to be there to share his enthusiasm for the game or his excitement for his beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. And I couldn't get through to him why it was that I wasn't going. But I want you there. I want you there. And he wanted me there because he loved me and he wanted me to share in that excitement with him. Now I regret not going. Mark also liked to exercise as much as he could, usually about 3 times a week. He would exercise, work out, and he would ride his bike as often as he could, and he liked to go for walks. I remember numerous times I'm like, oh, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. And oh, do you want me to come with you? And sure, if you want. So we'd always go for a walk, and he was very conscious, very health conscious about what he ate as well. He wanted to keep fit, and he had a lot of willpower that way. And I always admired that about him because that's something that I don't have. He loved his animals. He had 2 cats, and he just adored them. And when I met him and he met Miley, our dog Miley, he loved Miley, and Miley loved him. And you know what they say about animals, how they sense good people and bad people. Well, she was all over him as soon as she met him. And later on in our relationship, I would always find her when we moved in with Mark. Miley would always be sitting under his chair. He had a recliner, and she would be under the recliner, or she would be on top of his lap all the time. Like, she would never sit with me anymore. And I even made a joke on Facebook about I've been replaced by Miley. Not that I think that would ever happen, but it certainly seemed that way because of their love for one another that they had. This cat behind me, Mark had passed away. I wanted to get him a cat for Christmas, for his birthday. And he said no because it's too much work for you. And he had passed away. And I said to Lauren for his 50th birthday, I wanted to get him a cat. Even though I know he was no longer here, I wanted to do that. So we got this cat, and I said I was going to name the cat Blue. Before I got the cat, I had said to my daughter, I'm going to name the cat Blue because he was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. So when we got her, I said, her name is Nevaeh. And Lauren said, I thought you were going to name it Blue. And I was like, well, there's nothing blue about her. And Nevaeh is heaven spelled backwards. And so she is Mark's. I bought her from Mark. And every day I think she reminds me of Mark because in some strange way I feel that she is Mark's cat. So a piece of him is still here with us. And I know he would love her. And she sleeps on my bed every night. And I don't know, she just kind of reminds me of him. And maybe it's because her name is Nevaeh. I don't know. But she reminds me of him. And I hope he likes his 50th birthday present because I sure like her. It's funny because they say that animals and children can see spirits. And I just know he would never leave me. Just I know how much that man loved me and how much I loved him. And I know that he would never leave, like totally leave. And this cat behind me here, I'm pretty sure she sees him floating around, comes in and checks on me once in a while and makes sure everything's okay. And she lets me know that. She stares at things, she watches things, her eyes follow something. I don't know what it is, but I like to think it's him, and it's helped me to try and carry on without him because, as most of you know, I just met him and then he was taken away from me. So we didn't have very long together. And I know that saddened him as much as it saddened me, just because that's the kind of guy he was. And yeah, so this is her.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Holding you, I held everything for a moment. Wasn't I the king? But if I'd only known how the king would fall, hey, who's to say? You know, I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. It's my life, it's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance.